Welcome to the exhibit, Quilts from the College Mennonite Church, in the library gallery at Goshen College. This exhibit will be up until November 15, and we hope you can come to see it in real life. My name is Irvin Beck, retired professor at Goshen College. Beside me is Joy Hess. I'll explain her role in a minute. We're a member of the team that planned this exhibit and mounted it. The other members could not be here. One is Barbara Smucker, who's helped with a lot of exhibits, and our consultant, Rebecca Haar, a quilt dealer and quilt authority from Shipshewana. Many people know her, who helped us choose the quilts and suggested an arrangement of it. This time we decided to showcase quilts that are being made right now by members of the College Mennonite Church.
Well, I am a quilter from just 13 years ago. I started in all seriousness. My first encounter with quilts was with my grandma Katie Orndorff in Illinois. I used to watch her quilt in her front room. And then I started 4-H and learned how to sew clothing, and from there I expanded when I went to college and afterward with some special projects in fiber arts, which I took from Alta Hertzler, who was a professor here at Goshen College. After that, I didn't do much with my quilting or sewing until I actually retired about 12 to 13 years ago. Have made some comforters in a very traditional style, but now am exploring some different patterns with Little Eaton Quilt Camp, which is in Onekama, Michigan. Colors and designs are exploding, and they no longer fit real traditional patterns. Especially in bed quilts, there's just a huge variety of ways to put pieces together.
My name is Doug Vanderley. I started quilting about 20 years ago because I wanted to design a piece to hang in my classroom. I taught high school mathematics and wanted a piece which would show both concepts of rotation and reflection. This piece was one of my first quilts. I designed it using the 7 colors of the color wheel and used black fabric to emphasize the colors. It was constructed using strips of fabric in groups of 4 strips for each color. The quilt is basically 4 sections, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 pairs of which are identical. I used a stencil to mark the border and did diagonal quilting on the main design. Black thread was used for quilting.
My name is Rosemary Fallbroop. I've been sewing since I was 10 years old when I joined the local 4-H club. This quilt is the Blooming 9 patch, and it started with peach in the center, and then the word that the pattern used was color sharing, where the colors would be repeated. One of the colors would be repeated in the next square and then the next square, so they would share. It sort of blooms out of the center, which is why it's called Blooming 9 patch. I did not like my original centerpiece. It was the wrong colors beside each other, so I took that whole center part out, redid it using the same fabrics, and I'm much happier with the way it has turned out now.
I'm Fanny Berkey. I went to the Sisters Quilt Show in Sisters, Oregon, which was the fulfillment of a lifelong dream for me, and or at least a quilting lifelong dream. And I saw this quilt at a shop in Sisters, it's done by paper piecing, which is actually sewing with the paper on the back of the fabric and sewing everything backwards. It gets a little complicated, but it's definitely something that is more outside my comfort zone and less traditional much of what I have done.
Hello, I'm Faye Newcomer Litweiler from the class of 1963. I have been around quilts all of my life. My grandma quilted and my mother quilted, and I decided when I retired I was going to get serious about quilting. So it so happened Lillian Camp had a quilt week when I retired. So I went there and we had an instructor that everybody made the same quilt. You have your own fabric and your own sewing machine. This happens to be the second quilt that I made up there, the second time, the second year. This is called Trail Mix. And I liked it because of the zigzag design and also using a lot of scraps. The person that designed the quilt said it's good for people that have a lot of stash, which means a lot of leftover fabrics. Since it was my second quilt, I did not have a lot of those scraps. But I sat beside a woman who had made a lot of quilts, and so she shared a lot of her fabric with me. So this has 5 different squares to it. It has a 4-patch, which is the very simple one here. Then it has a double 4, and then it has a triple 4-patch, and then it has a 9-patch and a double 9-patch. We put all of those, kept sewing those all separately, and then laid them on the floor, and the design showed how you laid them out so that the zigzag goes through different places. I like that part about it, and also being able to share fabric with other people.
We hope you will seek out this exhibit in person. The video is fine, but the real quilts are tactile and more brilliant than they can appear in a videotape. The exhibit continues through November the 15th, but it's not open all the time to everybody. To visit the exhibit, you need to call the Historical Library. The telephone number is 535-7418. 535-7418, and arrange a time to come down here and view the exhibit. Groups are limited to 4 at any one time. So far it's been easy for people to get to arrange to come to see the exhibit, so don't let that scare you away. You simply need to call and ask if you can come according to your schedule. You need to call between 8 and 5 on weekdays when the Historical Library is open. Call during working hours. But you can visit after working hours till 11 o'clock on a lot of weekday nights and also on weekends. So surely you'll be able to find a time when you can come. You need to wear masks, and as I said, come in groups of 4.